Hi, welcome back to Wild Speculations. I'm Daniel.
I'm Scott.
This week we talk about Exandria Unlimited Episode 8, the finale. What comes next?
Yes.
An interesting name for the episode.
Yeah. For a finale episode.
Yeah.
Not unprecedented, though. I've made a lot of correlations between things in comics, because I'm into comics. And a lot of times when a series ends abruptly, they're like, but what comes next? Because they're not killing off the character,
right?
Although,
very close to a TPK.
Yes. She almost killed off the characters.
Interesting. I don't think puzzle is the right word, but Abria, I think, definitely had some kind of mechanic that they could harness the miasma. And I don't think they picked up on it. And I don't think it was oddly inconsistent.
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
But we begin with Opal trapped.
Yes.
And with unfinished business with the construct.
Yeah.
Chasing after them. And the first of two pretty good coined terms by Abria in the episode. Scatling gun.
Yes. Yes, that was cute. Do you think the construct was there because Abria didn't get to use it last week? She was like, all right, it's gone.
Yes and no.
Okay.
I think it's a great way to not break immersion to do that. Like, great, your players got rid of the thing, and for all intents and purposes, especially if you're trying to bring things to a close quickly, it's out.
Yeah.
The rest of this is going to go faster now. Now, the next week, we can begin with your unfinished business, especially after the party has split.
Yeah.
Which is the best time to do that. And then the ground erupts. And I got super hyped when she pulls out that tentacle and the little blob. And she talks about how it's the earth and ruins that are making up this entity's body. I was just like, Tarask! But equally satisfied that it was not, because I did say it wasn't going to be.
Yeah.
But I was right that Matt would be excited by a giant, massive creature. And he was. And it seems that, like, in the beginning, she said some things that foreshadowed that it was Ted. What a fine patron she'll be.
Yeah.
And yeah, Rose, her outfit reminded me of, I don't know if it was a Talks Machnia or if it was Between the Sheets. I can't remember. but Ashley is relating a story about a party that she's at.
Mhm.
And
I think that was
she's gonna-
between the sheets.
yeah, and she's going to introduce Matt. And she says, "Oh, I want you to meet my dungeon master," and the looks that she got. And Abria typified the looks that she got.
Yeah. That means Amazon's still trying to figure out whether I'm a D&D dungeon master or BDSM dungeon master.
Yeah. But the Singorn elf saying, "What a fine patron she'll be," was the big one. And I'm still not clear on her motivations. Like, why did she have to bring Ted into the physical world to make her a patron? And we also still don't know if or any connection between Ted, Opal, the Spider Queen.
So,
because later on we get some hints that that space that she was in was the Spider Queen's space, like in her head.
yeah, I'm not sure. To jump forward a little bit, we do get confirmation that you were right, that Opal and Ted's mom had the same thing going on
Yeah.
with the twin. When she says, you remember seeing your mom have the same kind of introspective yet far away look when
Yeah.
that you have when you talk to Ted. I think what she was doing by pulling her out to try and make her a patron is that something about this familial thing is it's a familial thing. It's not like Ted's a patron for whoever wants to sign a deal with Ted.
Okay.
It's a source of magic to the person. She's trying to pull that out of Opal so that she can have that magic. Because the whole campaign she's been saying, you don't deserve this. Why should you get this? Indicating a jealousy over Opal having that power and not her. So she's trying to rip the connection away from Opal so that she can establish the connection herself.
I guess I just don't. I don't. The connection was not established in the why this has to be done.
Yeah,
is what I'm saying. So,
I mean, it wasn't explicitly spelled out or anything, but to me, that seemed to be the case.
okay.
What was going on?
We also seemed to have in the moment, it sounded like there was a multi-step poison going on when Fern was stabbed with the poison dagger when she had the spellcaster in her teeth. But she didn't make a follow-up save. So I was like, was that just sort of flavor for her passing the con save?
I think so.
Or, okay.
That was my read on it.
Because I like the concept of a multi-step poison.
Mm-hmm.
Because give it to the player, and then they think they passed, and the next turn, you ask them to, check again. I
Yeah.
guess
I'm right there with you, Rose. That's exactly where my head was. Is
that to be a patron, she had to get her out of Opal.
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I say, I buy that.
Right.
But
it could have been clearer. It could have been.
Yeah. Well,
what it leaves me with the question is what is this love-hate dichotomy between Singorn elves and Byroden humans? What is special about these two cities that there is this desire / conflict for and with each other?
Proximity, possibly, but there may also be some hidden lore.
Yeah.
Of
And
Coralon forcing them to leave.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Rose, you might have a point, and that's why the episode is called "What Comes Next," because
Yeah.
it's all set up.
Yeah, and I believe so. And she does say, well, for another season of Exandria Unlimited.
Yeah.
So it's at least in the planning stages.
Yeah.
And still, my headcanon still says that either Opal's grandma was sister or cousin to Vax and Vex's mom, or Opal's mom was Vex and Vax's mom's niece. Something to that effect. I think it's a small town. Twins tend to run in families. What are the coincidences of confirmed 3 sets of twins from that one town not being related somehow?
It's fair.
And, I was talking with a friend of ours at work, and I busted that hypothesis, and he's like, well, then why didn't Vex and Vax do that? And I was like, well, maybe the elf blood stopped it from taking effect. Maybe it's a human thing. Maybe them being taken to Singorn, they weren't in Byroden at the time. Maybe it's a locational thing. So, I do think that Opal is not too distantly related to Vex and Vax.
Yeah, and I wouldn't doubt that.
And the timing frame, because they were, around in their 30s, they were still fairly young. They weren't hundreds of years old yet in Talks Machnia.
Yeah.
And this is 30 years after that, basically. So, and Opal's like 20, so it would be her grandparents, level. That's why I say her grandma and their mother related.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you don't have to go back very far to have a common ancestor with people.
Yeah.
And in a small town like that, 3 generations is probably enough.
More than enough in a lot of cases.
And they didn't really have any connection with their human family.
Exactly. Not after they were taken
Not-
away. Because
not
when
their
they by the time
grandparents.
came back, their mom had died. They had no family left in the, that they knew of in the town.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah, because the mom was an outcast for having the elven kids.
And it may also be that it was Thordak's attack, and the next set of twins born got the power.
Yeah.
That could also have been a trigger.
Yeah.
That
tangent, but that's just my headcanon still.
It's fair. We may find out
I want to see
how
it
true it
played
is. Because that's... is it this Thursday they're doing the campaign discussion?
The following. This Thursday is the Elder Scrolls Online Part 2.
That's right. And then there's talk of Ashley's one-shot coming in sometime after that. I loved how Opal's like, because Dariax is like, oh, I don't want to get fresh or anything. And he's worried about it. She's like, oh, you can get fresh. And then there was some joke. She's like, I don't want to die a virgin.
Yeah.
Just funny. And then I think my favorite line from Matt in the episode was, "I am become Vax."
Yeah.
When she gives him the effect of haste with the 90-foot fly speed before. Yeah. So it's like, oh, yeah.
To a degree. He also kind of became Percy. Because in Vox Machina, everybody fell for Percy.
Yeah. And kind of Caduceus, because there was some, I like to refer to it as celebration of Caduceus.
Yeah.
With Dariax's use of Bless and the mileage they were getting out of it. Yeah. And him continuing to succeed on the concentration check.
Yeah.
And Matt saying, "No, I understand. I've been on that side of it."
I love that. I'm going to knock the Bless out of you.
Yeah. Lolth continues to tempt them in order. I don't know if it was just too much. For me. Like it was good, I guess. But it just sort of took the impetus and tension out of the fight at some points to cut to these in your head discussions. But yeah. Yeah, Rose, that was the other thing. Matt finally is rewarded for loyalty to his dice.
Yes.
And
yes, I even have that in my notes. Matt's dice reward loyalty.
I think he had 3 natural 20s.
Yeah. And at least 2 19s as well.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so good. And I think it was Abria who used a version of our phrase, "The dice know." So yeah. I liked that Abria was trying to present Opal, Amy, with choices.
Yeah.
And the first one being pull the crystals out and you feel your connection to Ted diminishing. And so she says, "Don't pull them out." I didn't like the back and forth about action economy with Amy.
Yeah.
Especially because she was breaking the rules for Fern. Because that wild spirit and wild shape are actions, not bonus actions. She's letting them be bonus actions.
And they're the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So that kind of rubbed me wrong. But at the same time, it played into the theme for Opal in this encounter was you have choices to make. I'm going to force you. You can do one. You can do A or B. And I thought that was strong and helped reinforce things and keep the stakes high at points. I don't know. It was kind of unclear.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why Amy kept negotiating.
Mm.
In addition to her being a new player.
Yeah.
Which is also why it's kind of frustrating to watch that, because the action economy became almost like a shell game.
Yeah.
At some points. But yeah. Like what Abria was trying to do was good. I just wish she had been a little more clear and upfront about it. And not... But the Fern bonus action thing has been happening since the first time she wild-shaped or summoned the wildfire spirit. And we mentioned it way back then. So, but it was just, this episode, it was a frustrating juxtaposition for me. As I look at the rules as the social contract.
Yeah.
That's there, the rules are there to protect the player as much as the DM.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Matt. So how intentional do you think it is that Matt phrased his nerfing of himself, as Abria put it, to give him inspiration for doing so, that he phrased it as a question about carrying somebody, having your speed? Because he asked Abria, even though every time one of his players...
Well, he knows that's the rule, but he asked.
Yeah. Do you think he was trying to get away with it?
No. I think he did it in a way that it was to more aid, like, hey, this is how it goes, you know, so that it's not like, I'm going to do this, this does this, and come off rules lawyery, but to give her the, I don't want to say illusion, illusion's not the right word.
To give her the respect at the table.
Yes.
Okay.
That was my read.
That's fair. Yeah, Snoopy. Same. And yeah, Liam, when I was making my notes for tonight's episode, I put Liam as my MVP. And then I erased it. Because I wasn't sure I could justify it, given the criteria that we have used in the past for MVP. And Liam's actions, while awesome, and arguably the perfect use of all of his tools within the rules, went off without a hitch. Some of that has to do with dice.
Yeah. Some of that has to do with dice, but it's also a key picture of Liam as a player. And if you think back to campaign 2, he almost never got MVP from us. And per episode, he almost never will. But I would say at least EXU campaign, possibly even campaign 2 campaign, he's campaign MVP. Because he's always helping drive. He's always that, even when he's not a support character, he's a support character. And
he's the Wayne Gretzky.
He's helping everybody else shine.
Yeah. And
that's one of the things I love about Liam. And so I think it's justified. He's my pick for MVP. And I think he deserves the campaign MVP. I mean, arguably, the story had very heavy Opal overtones.
And see, Opal's would be my campaign MVP.
And she's definitely arguably there. But again, Liam is the one that sets things up for everybody else. Liam is the one that
Fair.
helps guide people without being that guy that's like, no, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's a great person for newer players to play with for that reason.
Yeah, Rose. Him cleaning up the trash, the minions of the boss,
Mm-hmm.
and directing them on doing that was quintessential battle master.
Yes.
Like, yeah, it's so good. Because yeah, that's sort of your choice: focus fire on the boss or clear the trash first.
Yeah.
And
well, I mean, that's also Lima's style. I mean, whether he's a rogue, paladin, druid, or a wizard, or a battle master, and to me, the battle master is the wizard of the fighters. I know there's an eldritch knight, but this is the tactician. This is the one who is battlefield control. This is the one who is area control. This is the one who is, the role of the wizard as a fighter.
Yeah, that's fair. But my MVP for this episode was Dorian.
Okay.
He was a little touch and go in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like when Liam was shining, he was sort of being outshone. But he was the one that was really trying to help Opal.
Yeah.
And got the most clues about whatever mechanics Abria had in the background.
Very true.
And also, at the end, it's his idea to use the residuum.
Yeah.
To take the crystal that he took out of Opal and sort of try to re-establish the connection and do all the things that got Ted back where she was supposed to be.
That's a very fair point. Robbie is very much the Laura of this campaign, the one who picks up the most on things.
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
So.
And
that is one of our huge criteria for MVP.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Again,
Very true.
Robbie's looking at the crown longingly, and the passing of the crown around the group. In a longer campaign, that's gravy.
Mm.
But in a short campaign, I think it just delays things, and I think that's in part why Abria was frustrated and really hammering in this fight, trying to get someone to put that damn crown on.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't the time to build that tension in the group and to let that happen naturally, to have it fall in.
Yeah.
Or to put them in a position that you have this artifact, you don't know what it does or is, and you put it on.
Yeah.
Inadvertently. But I think in some ways they got a light reflection, shadow, however you want to term it, of the Smeagol, Gollum, Bilbo, Frodo, Sam, Boromir interplay with the ring. But again, it didn't have time to stew.
Yeah.
And confronting Fern with the evil version of herself in the future, I think, killed any momentum or hope of the crown being put on early.
Yeah.
Because to me, it seemed like Fern was about to put that thing on. Like, the next opportunity, it came up in discussion.
I agree.
But because of that confrontation, now nobody wants to put it on. Because they saw this evil version of Fern. And it undercuts everything that Abria has said through all of the NPCs in the game, which we talked about in that episode, which is, no, power is power. It's not good or bad. Right. It's what you do with it is the thing. And that's why her players were so resistant to put it on. If that Fern encounter hadn't have happened, when it did, like after she's got it on and is experiencing the power and uses it a little bit, then you can do that encounter. And now she's stuck with the choice of, do I keep it and that's not my future? That is not me. Or she has the choice to give it to somebody else. And now someone else in the party has to deal with, do I use it? Because they've witnessed Fern's power use. They don't have the same temptations that she does. And that's where you can play with that in that space.
Yeah.
Again, in a longer campaign. So. Not that it was bad, because the crown was really the main through line for the whole story. In some ways. And to have it not play a role at the end, really? I don't know.
Yeah.
Felt not anticlimactic, but I don't know. Too side questy, maybe that's it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the best way to put it. Although Amy deciding to putting it on, and then getting a killing blow was beautiful.
Yeah.
It sort of paid off all of the action economy arguing that was going on, and all the temptation that had been going on in the episode. So that at least was a nice payoff in the moment.
Yeah.
But the big thing with Opal and the bag, I think the way that I would have handled that is technically he would have provoked an opportunity attack moving out of her square. Whether he knows she's an ally or not.
Yeah.
And I am perfectly okay with letting her use her reaction to have grabbed the bag. Which would have prevented all of the arguing about action, bonus action, putting it on, getting over there.
Yeah.
And all that. And just made it a simple sleight of hand. Maybe resisted. And I don't even know if I would do that. Just against his AC, maybe. A sleight of hand against his AC. Or maybe a flat DC. Just to get it. And if she rolls good enough, then you see whether or not he noticed it being taken.
Well, I mean, I would have just done it. Make or roll. I would probably do passive dex save because that's closest to reflex for the target number.
Yeah.
And then have his passive perception. If she beat that, he didn't notice.
Yeah, that's good.
I mean, that's how I would have done it.
I loved, speaking of Robbie's one-liners and reactions and such, I loved him, Matt, fuck your cute potions.
I love
using
using fuck your cute potions. And it didn't get him any better.
No. But, yeah, it was... And I couldn't tell if Matt... Because he seemed a little sad that the appreciation wasn't there the way that he got it from some of the regular players when he revealed them. And if memory serves, Laura and Marisha were the two most excited, if memory serves.
And Travis. Travis was up there.
Yeah.
Because he was like, oh my god, did you make these?
That's right. Yeah. So...
He was the most flabbergasted. Laura and Marisha were the most appreciative and overall excited.
Yeah. But yeah, in that moment, I was like, respect for Robbie, because he's like, don't give me the gimmicks, just let me roll dice. that was my interpretation of that moment, and I appreciated that. Don't give me gimmicks, just let me do the thing.
Yes.
I loved Matt's line. Blood of the mountains, bitch.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she inflicts wounds and uses him as a human shield after. If you won't be moved, you'll be dead. And actually, that moment also sort of encapsulates, I think, Matt's enjoyment that he got out of playing Dariax and enjoying all the shitty dice rolls.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's like, this hand is sloped, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, I want to fall off this damn thing.
And how giddily he's saying, I'm a liability.
Yeah. So funny. But it gives Opal her opening to retrieve the bag and the crown to put it on, which she does, and Fern spawns the next of Abria's coined terms for the episode, although I'm sure Barkor has been used before.
Oh, yeah.
By somebody somewhere. Just not at the table.
Yeah.
On the show. And my thoughts when Opal was killing her was of Omni-Man. When he twists War Woman's head around.
Yeah.
And Robbie, I think, may have had a similar thought when he pulled his hat over his eyes. He's like, oh.
Yeah.
Because, like, Fern has had some cute little barbarism of nature moments.
Yeah.
But that was the first real dark action of the players.
Yeah.
Which I think informed Liam's, I'm putting the crossbow down, I'm drawing my sword, and I'm watching.
Yeah.
But
she better have picked it back up and taken it with them. That was a +2 heavy crossbow. That's not something you just leave on the battlefield.
Fair. Yeah. Well, no, because Robbie did go sword, so he could use the crossbow. Because I was like, he's the only one that could use it, but no. Dorian could use it. As great as Abria was with, okay, now we're in a chase, and shifting that gear in the penultimate episode, the skill check at the end was a little rough for me in its introduction. But luckily, as she went around the table, like Dorian is the first one that introduces the idea and begins and rolls a 10. And then she sort of just went around, and Liam and Ashley, having been the sort of old hats, and Ashley even mentions, I feel like we're bringing somebody back from the dead.
Yeah.
Somebody who's medicine. That was very much a meta commentary, because I don't know if Fern would necessarily think of it that way. But Abria interpreting her role and stuff, as, you're not bringing a stone, you're bringing a person back.
Right.
They're alive. A stone alive with fire? Was that Abria's?
Yes.
Verbiage? I thought that was really good.
Yeah.
I appreciated that verbiage. I was like, oh, that's good. And again, Matt, I don't think he's really good at anything. He doesn't, he's very much just going to act on instinct. And I think it's just a flat dexterity check.
Right.
Which is, if you were going to give inspiration for nerfing yourself, that was the moment. Because I'm just going to not use my proficiency bonus in this one. Or can I do dexterity sleight of hand? Or whatever, pick a skill that you're good with, but use dex to get your high stat on it. So, to me, that was his biggest moment of, I'm going to nerf myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was super excited that we had the giant being coming out of the ground. And I was reasonably pleased with how it got landed. And all of the threads that were left open could definitely be picked up.
Yeah.
And we've learned that they are building a new set for Campaign 3. It's an adjacent soundstage. Which tells me, we discussed that Exandria Unlimited might be an in the breaks property, for lack of a better word. It may run concurrently. I don't know if that will be the case, though, because, I mean, who wouldn't want to get paid to play, 6 to 8 hours of D&D a week,
Right? I'm there.
right?
I will relocate next week.
But like it seems too big of an ask, time commitment wise, for the regular DM and 2 cast members to also do this at the same time that they're running the regular campaign.
Yeah.
So if it is a concurrent series, I don't expect it to be the same players.
Correct.
And just in the break, we may have this mix of players. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and I know Abria's next thing is back on Dimension 20, where she regularly DMs. They announced that she's going to be DMing the next campaign they stream. So that's her next gig.
Interesting. Because now my brain begins to turn. If they do have a concurrent show with a different cast, who's the DM? And 2 names pop into my head first.
Okay.
Joe Manganiello. And as I say, 2 names pop in my head. Hers flies out of my brain.
Mira?
No. Daredevil.
Deborah Ann.
Yes. Thank you.
Wall.
Yes. Because she did the Geek and Sundry. She had her.
Yeah, the Relics and Reliquaries.
Yeah. And Geek and Sundry and Nerdist just posted the Celebrity D&D that Matt did with Jessica Chobot, Joe Manganiello.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle? No, Chris? I can't remember the other guy's name. And then it was Marisha and Taliesin. So, I don't know. But Joe, really good friends with them. And arguably one of the bigger DMs in Hollywood, in that he has been the most passionate and seems to have the most people over to his dungeon.
Yes.
That we've heard about, anyway.
Yeah.
And who has been trying to get a D&D movie made. And I think he's the kind of political player that will be in every meeting that he's in from now on, is gonna, if he's trying to pitch this D&D movie or get this off the ground, it's gonna be look at Amazon and Critical Role.
Yeah.
And as soon as those numbers come out, when it drops, and he can have concrete numbers to point to, although I was thinking about this, they will have to show more people watch the cartoon than watched the show, the stream. because with Amazon Prime you can choose a channel to get your subscription, a free subscription, and a lot of critters seem to be giving Critical Role that free subscription. Like, I think for Amazon to call this a hit, it has to be more than that number.
Okay.
Like, it will be a success and worth the investment that they put in,
Right.
especially since it wasn't their money that went into production.
For the first season.
So just getting that many people watching it,
they have to be expecting it to be a hit if they greenlit and are paying for season 2, though. You don't think they expect it to be?
I think they expect it to be a hit, but I don't think that enters the math to greenlight season 2. Because very likely the season 2 money was part of the negotiations to get it on their platform. And the over the barrel they have on them is, we've already got the money to produce this. You're in competition bidding with all these other streaming platforms.
Right.
Like, that's one of the reasons why distribution of the cartoon was not a tier reward.
Yeah.
Because they were shopping it around to distribute it traditionally. So, much like Discovery basically had their green light regardless of its performance or popularity, because CBS wasn't fitting the bill.
Right.
Netflix was. A similar case. Critical Role says we've got $11 million to make this cartoon. If you're going to distribute it, you need to put up some money for another season.
Okay, I can see that.
So I think regardless of its... now, a third season that gets greenlit will depend on the numbers.
You were of season 1
and 2, yeah. So, and I would imagine season 2 is already halfway written, at least.
Yeah.
If not all the way written. So, because they had a nice run up getting it ready. The first season. So yeah. Not sure what we're going to be doing next week. But we might be on. Probably be on.
Yeah.
Doing something, talking about something. I don't know, is there anything else you want to touch on? Now that we've gone on a wild tangent.
Right. While there was some plot threads left open, I think it was a pretty satisfying conclusion to the 8 episodes.
Yeah, and I was satisfied that we were proven right that Opal was sort of the key to this whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is a nice thing to do for a new player.
Yes.
By the way. Focus on their character's story and bring it to the fore. And if you can, try to complete it quickly. Because sometimes new players want to try the game. Maybe they don't like it.
Right.
Their schedules are not necessarily in sync with your long timetable. So they are the most likely to have a scheduling conflict. as the game goes on. So, getting their character's story, the focus, and front and center, can help them get the best experience of the game that they can get. And it seems like Amy did have a good time.
Yeah.
So.
And ultimately, that's the important thing, is that everyone has a good time at their table.
Yeah. Rose, yeah. Fern's parents and the faceless.
The nameless ones, yeah.
Or nameless ones, yeah.
Yeah, and if you saw the end episode post-credits scene, it's Pasca threatening violence, saying, hey, we tried to be better than the class in the Myriad, but we're going to go violence just like them. And if that group of adventurers ever comes back in this town, all bets are off. So it's setting Pasca and the Nameless Ones up to be recurring villains in future EXU seasons. So
yeah. And again, comes back to the power is just power. Power doesn't corrupt. Sort of NPC angle that philosophy she's been pushing, while at the same time showing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Where Pasca was presented as the noble rogue trying to help out the little person. It's like, no, she's going to do all the things that all criminal people do.
Yep.
Fucking I'll ask. Do you think it was perhaps Abria's commentary on Daenerys in season 8 of Game of Thrones?
I really can't answer that, as I've never watched the show.
Oh.
I've seen maybe half an episode with you in the background. But I've never actually sat down and watched the show.
Okay. Well, the first 5 seasons are worth the ride, for sure. But and for those of you who have seen it, just the Mad Queen turn, as it were.
Yeah.
That Dave and Dan slapped on.
Yeah. I read the first 4 books, never watched the show. So.
Okay. But yeah. We will update you when we can about what we're going to be doing. But we will be here Tuesday, at least.
Yeah.
I think we'll call it there. And is it Thursday yet? Is it Tuesday yet? I guess.